Alright guys, it is late. I am about getting ready to go to bed. I've got my jammies on. I'm about to hop into that bed behind me, but I have a load of laundry that I figured I'd do, and I thought we'd just do a quick little chat. So a little while ago here on my channel, I did a video all on I guess the pros of homeschooling, or why I've chosen to homeschool as opposed to putting the kids in private school. We had that whole conversation. If you want to see it or you haven't seen it yet, I'll have it linked down below for you guys to listen to. Today what I want to do is I kind of want to piggyback off of that, still talk about homeschooling, but we're going to talk about the negatives of homeschool. Obviously we've chosen to homeschool, and I think that the pros outweigh the cons, but it's not to say that there are no cons. I know that a lot of times I share, how much I love homeschooling, which I do, I absolutely do, but I think that if we don't talk about the things that are hard about homeschooling, then it's kind of not painting the full picture, because it totally warrants having the conversation of what is hard about it, not leaving those things out, because I think that it is very possible to paint this very beautiful, to kind of romanticize homeschool in a way without being real about what it entails. So as I fold this last load of laundry for the night, let's just talk through some of them. And always, just rambly thoughts. I don't have any guide or outline, so Lord help us all. So for me, there's a lot of things that we think about in terms of homeschool is hard, or homeschool may not be for me, right? The first one is oh, I'm not a teacher, or the idea that now you have to plan all the things that you're gonna do with your kid. That takes a lot of brain power. Not that it's not doable, okay, because I absolutely believe that it's doable, but it's definitely something to take into consideration. It's definitely not something that everyone's gonna feel comfortable figuring out what curriculum you're gonna use, or figuring out, hey, I'm not gonna use a curriculum, I'm just gonna kind of make it up as I go. Again, these things are possible, but when you send your child to a traditional school where other teachers exist to do that, then that's one less thing that you have to do. So obviously from a work standpoint, if you're not into the planning and you're not into figuring out what my kids should be learning at this age, then that's something that you may not want to do. It may not be something that you feel comfortable doing. So that, I'm sure, is an obvious one. And then of course there's the one of oh, that my kids are not going to be social, right? I'm not going to give a lot of weight to that con of homeschooling, you guys, only because I don't really think that that's true, and I've shared my thoughts on that a million times. My kids this year alone, and myself, I have been more social this year as a homeschool mom than I have ever been in my entire life, probably. My calendar is more full of activities since we found our homeschool group, and since the kids have now made friends through church friends and all of that. So I don't think that that's one of the cons that I want to harp on. Instead, what I think is the thing that we don't think the most about in terms of homeschool, that is a con and is something that I myself am working through and trying to figure out, and just I'm learning to get through it, I guess, and how to properly deal with it. When you homeschool your kids, they are home with you all the time. Let's talk about that, because that is the reality of homeschool. So many of you are gonna be duh, that's so stupid, obviously, but for real, you do not have the luxury of sending your child to a school and having, I don't know how many hours they spend at school, right? Is it 6 hours? Is it from 8 to 3, or whatever the hours of school are? Essentially, you have childcare if you send your child to school. And that's not something that you have when you homeschool. That's a big thing to navigate, work through. The fact that your children are in your home the entire day, Monday through Friday, and then the weekends, it's a lot. And it's an entire different just lifestyle. Joe and I talk about it a lot, because it really is a different lifestyle. Most people, right, the numbers still show that most people send their kids to either private school or charter school or public school. Most people have children outside of their home for a good chunk of the day, at least on the weekdays, and then they have them home for a couple hours, and they do bedtime routine, all of that. So when I am home during the day with the kids, it's hard to do a lot of things, right? It's hard to clean the house because the kids are constantly making a mess after I clean something. It's hard to just break away in order to do those things and now add like the small child to the equation, like with Sean being 1 and like getting into everything. It is very hard to do that these days. So there's like the taking care of house chores, like everything that you're now gonna do at your house, like everything that I have to take care of, like I have to figure out a way to do it with kids all around me all the time. And that's something that, again, I feel very blessed that I can do it. But that is like what you are committing to and like what you're saying yes to if you're homeschooling your children. You're choosing to have them home with you. And that means that instead of having like nice quiet time to do all of your chores, you're now gonna have to figure out either I'm gonna do it with the kids alongside me, which is what you do most things for, or like this, it's like 10 o'clock and you're folding laundry because it's the only like quiet minute that you have where like if I was folding laundry, Sean would be here taking everything and like taking it out of the folds that I've already made. So you find pockets of time to do the things that you need to do. But like think about also like errands that you have to run. It is very hard for me to run errands unless I get someone to watch my children. And like errands, I mean like errands that I can't take the kids to. Obviously, I can take my kids like out with me to some errands, but like maybe doctor's appointments, right? Like when do I go to the doctor? How do I go to the doctor? If my kids were in a traditional school, I could schedule my doctor's appointments for any time in the week, right? Like while they're in school. For me, it's been hard to like, honestly, like remember to take care of myself because my whole schedule depends on me being able to arrange childcare. So it means that I have to make sure that, hey, I have a doctor's appointment. Like, can my mom watch the kids? Does she have something that day? Or Joe, like, can Joe take time off of work? I have to find someone to leave my kids with for things like that that I want to do that's not conducive to like having kids around. I can't tell you the last time I have done my hair, like actually done it. I've been able to go into like hair cuttery, like just like random like strip mall, like little haircut places. I think maybe 2 or 3 times since Sean was born, but that's just to like say, hey, just give me like a trim. Like I'm dying to go to the salon to do like maybe even like a balayage, change up my hair color a little bit, get some layers, like take care of me, have an appointment for myself. I'm dying to do that, but I know that that's the kind of thing that I'm giving up like half of a Saturday to do that because I would have to wait until the weekend when Joe could watch the kids or again get my mom to help me and watch the kids. But arranging childcare, as I'm sure all of you guys know, even if you have the best mom, mother-in-law, like whoever, like your tribe of people that will help you, like it's still not an easy thing because I will tell you there are plenty of times when like I can't ask my mom to come help me because she has either her own things that's going on or like she's helping my sister or she's helping my grandparents. Like I don't have like a full-time like nanny or full-time babysitter that I can just leave the kids with, so it's not the easiest thing. So really it's been like that recurring theme when like Joe and I talk about our family and like when we're looking at our schedules, we have to incorporate or like allot time on the weekends and like when he gets home from work for me to be able to step away and go do things. And I would have to do that a lot less if the kids were like in a traditional school because a lot of the things that I want to do or need to get done or whatever, I'd be able to do them during the week. So that's definitely something that, you know, again, we're trying to figure out and working through in terms of like our schedule and managing my needs and like taking care of myself and appointments and everyone's needs, right? Because Joe still has needs, my kids still have needs. And for us, like Sundays are like our church days. Sundays are like our Sabbath days. So we do still go to church on Sundays, and then Sundays we typically like we reserve that day for like hanging out at my mom's house or seeing friends and family. Like it's usually not like a work day, like it's usually a very leisurely day. But if that's kind of like what our Sunday already looks like, then you really only have the one day on the weekend to cram in any appointment you have or errands you gotta run, plus clean the house, plus go to a birthday party, plus do groceries, plus work on house projects. Like there's just not enough time in our weekends we're finding. And so that has been a little bit you know, a little stressful, a little, you know, we're working on it. And then we've also found along those same lines, like the kids have activities and the kids have social engagements, let's call them social engagements, a lot of times like on the weekend. And it makes sense because for most kids in a traditional school setting, when are they hanging out with kids? They're hanging out with kids Monday through Friday from 8 to 3 during school hours. Yes, and they have their after school activities sometimes, but they're hanging out and interacting like in the daytime. Like that's what they're doing. But for us, especially since the kids are home with us from 8 to 3, they're usually home with us doing our school stuff like on their own. And when do they get to hang out with kids? They get to hang out with other kids in the afternoons and then also on the weekend. So lately it's just been funny because like my mom will sometimes be like, wow, like your calendar's so full, you have so much stuff going on. And like I have to remind her and myself that this is, again, a totally different like way of living. It's like a totally different lifestyle. So yes, we're gonna have more going on the weekends because there's so much that we can't do in the typical school hour time. And I know that that's not necessarily like unique to my situation. I know that that's not necessarily unique to like a homeschool situation because like I'm sure there's a lot of maybe some of you guys who are watching this who are working moms, right? Like you are working from 8 to 3 in an office, right? You're working, or even later sometimes, from like 8 to 5 or whatever your hours are. So when do you get to do your things? You get to do your things when you're done with work and on the weekend. So like same concept. The only difference is that I guess like if you were a working mom, if you are a working mom, like sometimes you could take vacation. Maybe most of you guys can take, I don't know, if you're sick or whatever, like you can take a day off, use your PTO or whatever. But if you're a homeschooling mom, like can you really take a day off? I don't think so, because like your kids are still home with you even if you're sick, you know what I mean? Like they're not in the traditional school setting. So that's like a consideration for sure. What I have really just found this year in homeschooling, now that we have our co-op and now that we have, again, just more social things going on, I have found that I need a lot more support in terms of childcare, in terms of help so that I can get stuff done around the house. I need more external help, maybe is like a good way to say it, than I thought I would need. And I imagine more help than I would need if my kids were going to a traditional school setting. I hope that makes sense. I know that like my brain is going a million miles a minute. I'm trying to express what's been on my mind. So yeah, there's been times where I'm like, okay, I just need to get more organized and I need to clean my house and I need to do all these things. And it's gotten to the point where I'm really gonna have to evaluate like what can I outsource? What can I potentially, because I mean, also, obviously I need to also have like the money in order to do it, but what can I outsource so that I get some more time back to do things that I need to do? So can I outsource cleaning my home? That I could, right? I would love to have a cleaner come in, and like I did want to, like I really did want to do most of it myself. I was like on a kick of learning how to clean the house and buying all these cleaning things, and I really wanted to like take that on myself. And I mean, I still do it now because like the house does have to get cleaned in the meantime. But would it be a huge load off my shoulder if I could pay someone, I don't know, like what would that cost me? Like a couple $100s a month to have my house cleaned? Like even if it's just once a month, like that would be a huge help, because that would be like somebody maintaining the cleanliness of the house so that I can, you know, not have to, you know, worry about that. But other than that, like I don't really know what else I can outsource. One thing that I do that does help me a lot is I, for the most part, will get my groceries delivered. So I do like Walmart Plus for the most part. I have a Walmart Plus subscription. So that saves me time because I'm not strolling through like the grocery aisles or whatever and like not taking time away from other things by spending hours at the grocery store. Plus just like the fact that it's hard to do with so many kids. Like it's just way easier to have them delivered. Other cons that come to mind is just things that come along with having your kids here in your home like all the time, which I've shared a million times. So like I don't want to repeat the same thing over and over again, but just how loud the house is. Like my house is loud, dude. My kids, if you're new here, are 6 and 4, and then I have the 1-year-old. But like they're always fighting and they're always loud, and like they're having the time of their lives. I feel like they're living the best childhood, and I love that they have each other to hang out with, all of that. But dude, my ears hurt. My ears, my brain, everything hurts because it's nonstop, and you really don't get much of a break. Like, if that is like the overarching thing, like theme of this list of random cons to homeschooling, that would be it, is that it's hard to get a break. It's hard to get time to yourself. And I have a great husband, okay? I have a great partner who, anytime I do tell him like, hey, I need to go somewhere, he will absolutely facilitate that to the best of his abilities. But it's still hard because he's working during the day, and like he can't just, you know, take days off of work because, oh, his wife's ears are bleeding, like, and she's about to lose it. But it's hard to get a break. And so one of the things that I've been trying like really hard, like today I implemented, we did do quiet time. Some days it gets away from me and I don't get to do it as much as I would want to. But quiet time for me is key, where Sean is napping, the big kids go to their room, and I went downstairs and I was reading one of my devotionals for a good like 45 minutes. And that was like necessary, because when you're home with your kids all the time, like, you love them, they are amazing, you would take a bullet for them, like you adore your children, but you need a break. Like, just, you need to like not see anyone for a little bit. You just need to not see anyone, not hear anyone. You need just a minute to yourself. So don't feel bad if you need that or want that. That doesn't mean that you don't love your kids. It's just, it's hard. I get very overstimulated, which is something that I struggle with a lot, because like, for example, this morning, Sean woke up at 4:30 in the morning. And that is how I started my day, at 4:30 in the morning with screaming that did not end. I thought he would go back to sleep. It was still like 6 o'clock and he was still crying. And I'm like, okay, great. This is how my day is gonna be. And my cortisol levels are already up through the roof. So that can sometimes be challenging. But for the most part, I hope that you hear, like, the cons, they don't really, at least for me, they don't really have to do with the schooling itself, right? Like, you haven't heard me say too much about like, oh, it's hard to teach your child to read, or like, wow, using workbooks is hard. Like, that for me is not what I have found challenging. I have had some challenging moments, like when Riley, for example, is like, I don't want to do school today. Like, I have those days, right? My kids are normal kids, and they have moments like that when they're like, I don't want to do that. And then I have to like kind of, you know, do the whole dance of like, okay, well, we're gonna do it anyway. And I have to deal with the emotions of the kids, which, you know, I wouldn't have to deal with that if I sent them to a traditional school. Their teacher would. It would be their teacher dealing with them saying, I don't want to do school, which they probably wouldn't say because their teacher is not their mom. So there's that component where the kids obviously are very, very comfortable with you because they love you so much and feel so safe and secure with you because you are their parent. But then they feel like it's okay to tell you that they don't want to do school. So you have to deal with a lot of like attitude, and you may have to deal with, you know, just some of that typical like, I don't want to do it right now kind of thing. Because also the kids, like, maybe you have like a better setup, or maybe you would have a better setup if you were a homeschool parent. I don't have a designated homeschool room. I don't have a designated homeschool classroom. So my entire first floor is my homeschooling classroom. So the kids are down there doing school, but then they also see their toys and they also see the TV, and they're also like, I would rather be playing with my trains or my cars. Like, I don't want to sit and do school. So that's a challenge of having school in your home that you wouldn't have to deal with in a normal classroom setting. So then add to that just the fact that the kids are home with you all the time, playing with their toys and reading books and doing all the things that they do as homeschooled children. There's obviously a mess at the end of every day, which, you know, there would be less mess, I think. I don't know. You let me know if you have your kids in regular school and there's still a mess in your home, even if they've been there for like 20 minutes. But I think that overall there would be less mess if my kids were out of the home most of the day. Like, that logically seems like it would make sense. Kids also, I don't know, I feel like they step foot in a place for 5 minutes and it's still a mess. So yeah, those are just some thoughts on a random evening when my brain cells are fried. But all of that just to show you that as much as I love homeschooling, and I have no intentions in stopping, like, I love it, I still think that the pros outweigh all of the things that I just told you. But the existence of these cons is not like fake. Like all of these cons are here and they're things that are struggles, but I think it's important to talk about the struggles so that maybe we can offer each other solutions, or just, you know, maybe feel a little less alone. But it's part of it. And I feel like even the best situation or your ideal situation, like even that still has its own set of cons. Like there's still things that are hard, and I will always harp on that saying, like, this is hard, the other thing is hard, choose your hard. Like no matter what situation you're in, there's going to be hard things about sending your kid to a traditional school. There's going to be hard things about keeping your kids home and homeschooling. It's just which one of those do you want to do? Which set of hard do you want to take on? And which is going to be the best, you know, for your family and your overall goals as a family. So those are the things just to think about. So if you have anything else you want to share, or if you have any thoughts on any of the rambled mess that I shared, feel free to leave it in the comments. But I hope you guys know that I love you so much. And if you're just kind of like on the fence about homeschooling, then I hope you got something from this. But yeah, I still love it and I have no intention on stopping anytime soon. I'm so excited and pumped for this coming school year. We've kind of already like started easing our way back into school. Like I've told you guys in my vlogs, like we never really took like a full-on break in the summer. So it's just something that we're really enjoying. And I just love that, I don't know, that God put it on our heart to homeschool, because I never saw myself doing it. And now it's at a point where I'm like, I can't see myself not doing it. Is that weird? Is that wild? Like, life is wild, you guys. So anyway, I love you guys. Thanks for being here. Make sure to give this video a big thumbs up if you enjoyed it. Subscribe if you're new, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye, guys.